This is your first video watching of mine, hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Kylie. I am 22 years old. My life is a hot mess and I'm trying to figure things out. And my channel is just me. It's my story, my life, and the things that I want to share. So welcome back to my channel, guys. I know it's been a long time and I took a much needed break. A lot has happened, a lot has changed, but for the better, and I'm in a much better situation and I'm doing so much better and I'm feeling so much better. This is just the update of all updates, to be honest. The last time I posted, I think, was in December, and if I remember correctly, I'm not sure, it is currently April 25th, so there's been some time in between from when I last filmed and when I last posted, and I'm gonna give you an update of everything in general, and then I'm gonna go over month by month. And I just want to get back to me, and part of me was my YouTube channel. I love my YouTube channel. It's really new for me. I'm still working on it, but as I am evolving, so is my channel. So I'm gonna start in January when I first moved. I was really struggling. The past year has been extremely difficult for me. I guess I should just start from the very beginning and give you guys the full story and the full update so that you kind of understand it. So January 19th, I was really kind of just lost. I was in a weird place. I was struggling with my health. I was struggling with my finances. My relationship to my ex was just kind of stagnant. I just was depressed and my anxiety was really bad, and I found out I had endometriosis. I started having panic attacks. It all just kind of started, I guess is the best way to explain it. And I was engaged during that time, and we were talking about when we wanted to get married because we had gotten engaged May of 2018. And so we were I was just in a weird place. So I started to kind of go to therapy at that time, a little bit off and on, and I refused to take medication. I tried it in 2018 for a little bit. I didn't like it. And then my aunt, she owns a business. She's very successful. She's great with her money. She's a wonderful lady. She said that she'd help me budget and kind of go over some things, and I did. I started budgeting, I started figuring out my finances, and I started getting that ball rolling. So during that time of 2019, January of 2019, during those next few months, I'm trying to go to therapy off and on, which was a new experience for me. I was talking about getting married because I was engaged, like planning something, and then I was working on my finances. So that's kind of the place where I was to start with. So then I just wanted a courthouse wedding. I wanted something simple. I wanted a little reception with my family, a courthouse wedding, make it nice and easy. My ex at the time didn't want that, so I ended up planning a wedding that I couldn't afford, that I couldn't handle, and that I was very stressed out about. So we also talked about getting married on our anniversary in May. So I had 3 months basically that I planned our wedding. It turned out really nice. It was really pretty, whatever, you know. We got married in May. During that time I was really struggling still. I was struggling with work. I missed so much work because of my anxiety and my health issues that I ended up getting fired. So I didn't have a job after we had gotten married, and I was just in a really crappy place. I got married because I felt obligated. I was depressed. I was struggling with money. I was struggling with work. I was struggling with my physical and mental health, and I needed a change. I needed something to happen, you know. So I wanted to move. This is something that I had talked about previously, and there was a couple months that my partner at the time, my ex, we spoke about this, and we talked about it, and he's more of a quiet person, so I repeatedly hounded him and asked him about it because I really wanted to move. I needed a change. So he agreed. He said, yeah, okay, let's do it. My sister, Kaden, I love her so much. She's been in a couple clips on my channel before. She knows I do YouTube. Her and her partner live in Wyoming. And so I decided to move there because I'm very close with her. And that was the plan. And we had talked about it for a couple months. We agreed to it. You know, I started getting things together. I found someone to take over our lease because we had just renewed our lease. I sold half of our belongings. The rest I had put into storage. And then my mom at the time, because I was dealing with finances, she really wanted me to move. She knew I was struggling, and she loved the idea of me and my sister being together. So she's like, I will give you a little bit of money to move. So I took money from my mom, borrowed money from my mom, and then I moved to Wyoming. And the plan was that I was going to move to Wyoming first, and my sister was letting us stay with her too. Going to go there first. I was going to pack my car, take my cat, and move there, and then get a job because he was currently still working and had family to stay with. And so once I got a job and started working, he was supposed to come up and find a job so that we weren't without some sort of income during this transition. So after that, my grandpa had passed away, so I came back to Idaho to go to his funeral. During the time that I went to his funeral, I got a Penske truck, like a U-Haul truck, and packed up all our stuff out of our storage unit, and I drove up with my younger brother, because he was staying at my sister's for the summer, so he came with me to the funeral, and then he drove my car and I drove the truck because my type of vehicle, it couldn't be towed behind it, unfortunately. And so I drove that with my brother. My partner, my ex, did not come. He was kind of pushing it off. So I asked him, you know, and we were kind of fighting a lot, and I was like, what's going on? Like, why aren't you coming? Why aren't you wanting to be with me? Like, we're newlyweds. You know, we planned this out for a few months. Like, this isn't something that just spontaneously happened. Well, I found out that he was lying to me about a lot of stuff, that he was doing things I didn't agree with, that he had gotten fired from his job, and just a lot of stuff that he wasn't honest with me, you know, a lot of things that, out of respect for his own privacy, I won't detail it out, but you can get the gist. And he told me, well, I don't want to move to Wyoming anymore. And I'm like, well, you should have been honest a couple months ago before I started doing all this. We don't have a place to live. All of our stuff is here now because I moved everything over. I have a job that I like. I'm doing better. Like, it's a little too late at this point. So you need to come here. And if you hate it, then we can save up money and move back, is what I told him. And he said, no, you can stay in Wyoming and I'll stay in Idaho. And I'm like, no, that's not the relationship I want. So if you don't come here, you know, and then all this other stuff that I had found out, and he just honestly didn't care that I was gone, so that was a big problem for me. So I said, well, it's your choice. You're either going to come here and make the best out of it because you agreed to this situation. This is something we chose together. This was something planned out. So you can either choose to come here and be with me, or we're breaking up and we're going to get divorced because I do not agree with the things that you're doing, and you obviously do not care that I am gone. You don't give a shit. So I think he thought because we were married that I was just gonna put up with all this stuff. No. That was the end of my relationship with my ex. During that time, I went from 2 incomes to 1 income. Everything was in my name. And I was already struggling when I moved with 2 incomes. And so now everything really got put on me. I had the opportunity to take a job that offered free housing, but it was an hour away from my sister, and it was in a really tiny town. And there was no one there that I knew, and I was really struggling. I was by myself, away from my family, away from my friends, and I, to be honest, did not last very long there. I was there, I think, maybe a month and a half, 2 months, to be honest. During the time that my ex and I separated, to backtrack just slightly, my sister's partner's best friend, he has talked about him so much. Even before I had gotten married, at my wedding, even like after my ex and I split up, he has talked to me and told me about this guy named Tori, his best friend that he's obsessed with. And even at my wedding, even before my wedding, the past 4 years that my sister and him have been dating, he has said that I'm going to end up with him, that we're perfect for each other and we're going to be together. So after my ex and I separated, we went over to the town that he lives in, because that's where my sister's partner is from. And we went to this big party thing that they have every year, and I met him and we hit it off immediately. Like, I'm talking fireworks. He's handsome as hell. He has a lovely deep voice. Like, he's just fantastic, and I can rant and rave all night about him. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I had met him and I started dating him previously before I moved over to the town that I was away from everyone, that town. We were 3 hours apart. I drove out there every weekend, and he even drove out to me when he could because of his job. So I hated it. It was miserable. He hated having me there. We hit it off, like, I'm telling you, fireworks. Like, I'm not kidding. And he was like, I hate long distance. I hate you being 3 hours away from me. I know you're miserable. You need to just move in with me. So I did. I sold almost all of my stuff. I didn't have to get rid of everything. I got to keep all my kitchen stuff, which was great. So he didn't really have a lot of stuff because, you know, guys, I had moved there. So this is my 3rd time moving at this point. So I moved in June from Idaho to Wyoming. Then a few months after that, I moved, like 2 months after that, I moved from the city I was in to Wyoming to another city. Then, like a month and a half after being there, I moved to South Dakota. I went over the border into South Dakota. So I went from Idaho to Wyoming to South Dakota. So that's the moving process. And I had gotten a job at each place. So I was struggling. It was very sporadic. Moving in with him was great to a point. It was a new relationship, so I wasn't completely honest and forward about how much I was struggling financially, or about my mental health, or me being homesick, or like me needing to go to therapy. It was just a new relationship, and I didn't want to be demanding or too forward and freak him out, or, you know, it's also embarrassing to talk about certain things so openly. He did know that I was struggling. Like, he knew, like, I was broke. He just didn't know how much or how extensively I was struggling, I guess. And he knew I had anxiety. Like, it's pretty hard to keep that together. So, he kind of had an idea of everything. He just didn't realize how much I was struggling. Staying there was very hard. I love the town. The people, for the most part, are great, you know. I loved living with him. He's amazing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with him. But a couple of his family members, like the day I moved in, also moved into this really tiny house because they were struggling. So we were in this 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom old house with 4 adults, 2 dogs, and a cat. So that was very difficult. My car did not do well in that area because of all the snow. I wasn't used to the weather. I wasn't used to the snow. My car could handle it, but it wasn't in good condition. It still needs a lot of repairs that I'm working on currently. The job that I had was at a local convenience store in the town, and I hated that job. No one knew how to separate work from personal life, and I mean, I sometimes do that. Like, I totally get it. But it was just a lot. It was really extreme. I'm kind of from a very populated area, and it was a really small town, and I don't know. It was a struggle. It was a struggle. And my finances were still crap, and I couldn't afford anything. I was drowning, basically, because I went from a $4,000 income a month to a $1,200 income a month, and 90% of everything was in my name. So you can imagine if I was already struggling before this and then dealing with that afterwards. I don't even know, like, my brain can't even fathom how far I've already come, like how big of a hole I was in. And I'm still working on it, I'm still paying off debt, don't get me wrong, but I can't even wrap my mind around like how I frickin' did it. I don't even know. Me living there, basically, it was definitely kind of a culture shock for me in certain ways. The living arrangement was awful, my finances were awful, my anxiety and my depression was getting worse, and I was just struggling. Like, this whole time I was struggling. Moving on to January of 2020 of this year, I left around January 16th or 17th. At that point, I kind of gave up. I was just struggling. I was in a really bad place. I didn't know how to communicate with Tori, like what I needed and what I was going through. And I really feel like a big part of it was I just needed to take care of this myself. Like, I needed to go. I needed to come back home. I needed to get divorced. I needed to get my shit together. And I really just couldn't do that there. Even if I wanted to, I didn't have access to therapy or doctors or good jobs. So it just wasn't an option. So I decided to move back to Idaho. When I moved back, that's when Tori and I hit a really big bump in the road. In our relationship, is he didn't understand. He was really upset, and he took it as I was leaving him. And as he had said previously, he doesn't do long distance. He wasn't okay with it. That if I didn't want to be there, then I didn't want to be with him. When I moved back, we ended up breaking up, which was very difficult. When I got here, originally I was going to stay with one of my old foster sisters, but it was 2 hours outside of where I lived. She has a bunch of kids, and it was a secluded area, and I was just too anxious and stressed out to stay there. So then I was going to move in with my aunt, but her house was too full, and then I ended up moving in with my cousin, which I should have just done that in the first place, but I didn't think of it, and it's amazing. This is the best living situation I've had in a long time. Then after probably like 2 weeks of being in Idaho, that's when I finally came here. So Tori and I, for about a month and a half, so all of January, and then probably about the end of February, during that time we were broken up. I kind of started, and then I also, when I moved back and got into town and got with my cousin, I started going to therapy. You know, I got on insurance. I'm seeing doctors now. So I have, you know, all those things going for me. Therapy, doctors, work with family. But during that time, we were really struggling, and we were talking almost every other day, and then some other stuff happened, and then we ended up deciding to get back together. He decided to go stay in Washington, in Spokane, and visit his mom, and then we've been visiting back and forth. Currently is the situation right now, and we're just doing long distance, and we're doing amazing. And I'm doing so much better. I was very honest about everything going on after I moved, and he just realized how much I meant to him. And then he, you know, once I was honest about everything, and very forward and transparent, I think he got a bigger understanding of how much I was struggling. So currently our relationship is doing great. I set up a plan, and I have goals that I'm trying to accomplish, and, you know, just a lot of different things, but we're doing really great. By the end of February, we got back together, and we're doing good. Moving on to March, I was trying to get a second job that would work around my first job, which has been a struggle, and I'm trying to go in the experience that I previously have working with disabled adults, because they have all shifts, all hours, a lot of flexibility. So I've got hired for a couple different companies, but then after I get hired, they want to pay me lower than they said, or they don't have the availability that I told them I needed. So I finally got a second job that's paying me decent, that's paying me pretty well for the field, let me say, and they're graveyards. So it works around my schedule, they're paying me well, it's golden. I'm currently working 2 jobs, one at a counseling agency and then one doing direct care, taking care of people, like caregiver. And I work 80 hours a week, and they are just a temporary situation. But working these 2 jobs currently, I'm able to bring in around $3,000 a month. So going from a $1,200 income to a $3,000 income has helped significantly. And I'm going to make a separate budgeting video going over where I was at, where I'm currently at, and what my budget is. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe to my channel. So in April, I moved in with my cousin, I got my first job, and then Tori and I got back together at the end of April. Moving on to March, I created a budget with my aunt, which is going really well, and I'm going to make a separate video on that. And I also got divorced. I'm so happy that's done. I filed for divorce in March. He agreed to everything. I got it signed, sent the papers in. It got signed by the judge. It is official. It was a very easy process because I'm on good terms with my ex currently. So that is doing well. We also had some shared bills that we went over, we agreed on. We're both paying 50% of them. So that's going really well. So I'm just happy that we're in a good situation, and that makes me feel better. I'm gonna make a separate budget video like I talked about, but I'm also gonna go over my plans and my goals, and then some of the things that I'm using to kind of keep me on track and keep my mind focused. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it really cleared up some questions for the people who do regularly follow me. If you have any questions or comments, or if you just want to simply say hi, please leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe. If you feel like you can relate to my journey about moving and divorce and budgeting and just being a hot mess, please feel free to subscribe and share my channel. I know my videos lately have been sporadic, but I'm doing so much better that I really want to get back into it because I really enjoy YouTube. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I love all of you, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.